Hello and welcome to everyone. Today our guest is Cage Warriors fighter from England, Matthew Bonner. Matthew, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Can you please introduce our fans with your profile, with your fighting stats, and go for it?
My name is Matthew Bonner. I fight on Cage Warriors. I'm in the middleweight division. I'm currently 7-6-1.
Excellent. When did you start training MMA, and which is your, how do you say in England, basic or fundamental martial art? Which one's correct?
I guess you would say like a fundamental would be like Thai boxing. Kind of what I started with would be Thai boxing. I started Thai boxing when I was 10 years old, and then started MMA when I was about 17 years old.
So basically, you are now a well-rounded fighter, or you're like striker, grappler?
I like to think I'm well-rounded. I think a lot of people, from looking at my previous fights, think I'm more of a grappler wrestler than a Thai boxer, because that's something that's certainly as I went professional. It was more. I did more wrestling, grappling in the fights, but considering the last fight, it was I won by a TKO. There was a lot more striking involved.
That is excellent. What can you say about your nickname?
The Beast. That was the rule that I've always been told is you can never pick your own nickname. So that was I was supposed to be fighting a fella. This was a few years ago. I was supposed to be fighting a guy, and his manager or his coach said, "Oh, we're not fighting Matthew. He's a beast." So that's kind of where it came from. It stuck. Once it was there, it stuck.
Beast is usually given to heavyweight fighters, so it was kind of odd to me. It was very odd to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just what he said. A beast. I don't know in what respect he meant that, but I was. It kind of suited, I guess.
So who is coaching you right now?
Paul Rimmer would be my main coach out of Next Gen Liverpool. You got Molly McGann who's in the UFC. You got Chris Fishgold who's in the UFC. Paddy Pimblett who's a ex-Cage Warriors world champion. So it's a really good team. That kind of started there about a year and a half ago maybe. Previous to that, I was pretty much looking after myself and coaching myself. So I wanted to step it up, and that's why I went to Next Generation.
Do you have a strength and conditioning coach at the moment?
Yeah, that's right. I have a coach called Paul Reed, who is. I've kind of been working with him for maybe the last 3 months, and that was one of the big differences in the fight. I think I was in really, really good condition. I was really pleased with that.
Well, actually, I finished that college, for sports physical education, and I've noticed that your pace was pretty much consistent throughout the whole fight, and that's actually the reason I haven't seen you. You didn't look bad throughout the fight. That's why I asked you.
It was a strange one because normally when I'm fighting, the rounds are 5-minute rounds at professional level, and 5 minutes always seems like a hell of a long time to be fighting. But for whatever reason, last Thursday, the 5-minute rounds felt like 2-minute rounds. The rounds went so fast. And I think I could have fought a 5-round fight, 5-5s. I felt in great condition.
So is there a major difference between non-strength conditioning and strength and conditioning when it comes to long rounds?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've always done some. It's been mainly strength training, and again, that was something that I kind of took upon myself. So it was a lot of powerlifting, deadlifting, squatting, bench press, and overhead press. Now, when I went to Paul Reed, we was doing a lot more kind of explosive-based training, stuff like that, and maybe that was the missing link that's made me, far fitter this time round than the other times.
Well, that's actually my next question. In making a comparison, in my country, when you say you look like a missile, it means you're very much explosive. So I've noticed a lot of explosivity. So I assume it had something to do with that.
Yeah, it was a lot of I don't know if you know what supersetting.
Yeah,
so you do almost like, say you do a front squat, and then you'd maybe do, I don't know, 5 reps of a front squat. Yeah, that's right. And then you'd do like explosive jumps or something like that, plyometric jumps, and that seems to have worked really well. It's something that's been a massive weakness of mine, I think, and now I've started with Paul Reed. Hopefully, it's that little bit of missing piece that's going to make me, much more explosive.
What can you say about your first amateur fight, and who was your toughest amateur opponent?
My proper first amateur fight was against a guy called Eddie Fitz, he was about 5'6", but he was like 3 times the width of me. He was about 3 times the thickness I was. And yeah, I won that fight by, I think it was a unanimous decision. But it was a good fight. It was quite close. And obviously, when you're an amateur, you want to be getting the rounds in. So doing the 3 rounds it was helpful. You don't really want to be finishing every single fight in the first round. You want a little bit more experience. So yeah, I've got good memories of that fight.
And the toughest one, that's him too.
Toughest, amateur-wise or professional-wise?
Professional. Sorry, amateur. Sorry.
Amateur. I'm not sure. There was a few tough ones. I mean, I was fighting amateur. This is how long I've been fighting. I was fighting amateur when you could knee to the head, which you can't really do anymore. Not in this country under the unified rules. So it'd be probably against guys who was, kneeing me in the head. Obviously, that's okay at pro. It's legal, but normally you can't do that in amateur. But when I was fighting, 10 years ago, you could knee people in the head.
What can you say about your first professional fight?
First professional fight was a guy called Mush Aslani, who I saw last Thursday. Actually, he was in Jack Grant's corner, who also fought on Cage Warriors. That was it. My professional career at the start was very ropey. I lost the first 2 fights, but Mush was a wrestler, and I've not watched the fight for a good long time, but I was the one who did a lot more damage, and he was controlling me more. And the judges ended up giving it to him in the end, but it was a very close fight. I don't think he's really fought since. I think he's fought maybe once or twice since then. I've obviously gone on to fight another 12 times.
What can you say about your first professional win? It was against a tough opponent.
That was against James Sheehan, an Irish guy who was, again, he's not fought for a long time, but I was certainly the underdog in that fight. I think I was told after the fight that that was his first professional fight, but he was #1 ranked in the world at amateur, or in Europe at amateur or something. He was quite decorated. I think he kind of figured, he's a nice guy, James, but I think he kind of figured that they were going to come in and get a nice easy win and go back to Ireland. But I managed to win the fight. Showed off a little bit of wrestling, which I'd never really done before, and that was my first win. I was really pleased with that.
I know a lot about Mick Stanton, and you were able to defeat him. To be honest, when I saw this on your record, I was like, well, don't get this wrong, but I was very surprised. I know who's Mick Stanton, and Mick Stanton is a very much respected name, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I fought Mick. That was my first fight on Cage Warriors. That was the very first one. And again, I think get on with Mick now. He messaged me yesterday, funny enough, and congratulated me for winning my fight. But it was quite we was rivals at the time. I think he thought again I was going to be an easy fight for him. I think I had a bad weight cut at the time as well. And then I think I don't know if it was the first or second round, I ended up choking him out. I ended up finishing him I think it was the end of the second round. But yeah, obviously Mick went on to kind of fight for world titles and things, and he's done reasonably well. He had he lost against James Webb, and then he lost recently to Aaron Khalid. But he's a very well-rounded fighter. He's got a big boxing career, or had a boxing career, and then he's done reasonably well in MMA. But that was even today, that's probably one of my most proudest moments was choking Mick out.
You fought Tim Burnett to a draw. Every single fight a fighter fights to a draw, it's a very close fight. Did it kind of remind you that fight? Did it remind you of a fight between Calvi Cerrone and Nico Price, or it reminded you of some other fight?
Yeah, it was close. It was close, and then he just wilted. I don't know how much the kind of game plan in terms of like his weight cut came into it, whether that drained him, but yeah, that was a big win for me at the time.
You fought Mark Madsen, Madars Flemius. Mark Madsen is an Olympic wrestler. On the other side, Madars Flemius is one of the... I'm pretty much obsessed with those countries and such things, but I think he's number 4 or 5 in his country, and that's pretty much a big success, after Misha Cirkunov, one of the greatest names. So you fought both of them. What do you think of them as the opponents?
I fought Mark. That was my last fight. Oh no, it wasn't. Flemius was my last fight at welterweight, but I was finding it very hard at the time to get down to welterweight. I'm quite a big middleweight, but at the time I was cutting probably at least 12 kilograms just to get down to welterweight, and then it was a little bit. It's quite a long story, that one, which I won't kind of go into massively. But I travelled to Denmark to fight Mark Madsen, and I was told that there would be like salt bath facilities there. Obviously, as fighters, we cut a lot of weight. by jumping in a hot bath, and you put Epsom salts in the bath, and it dehydrates you, it takes weight off you, and you make your weight. Now I was told there'd be a bath in the hotel room. We arrived there on the Thursday, weighing being on the Friday, and there wasn't a bath there. It was just a sauna. So my weight cut was absolutely dismal. That's the first and only time I've ever missed a weight class. And then there was quite a bit of I got called out by him saying I was refusing to cut the weight and I was being rude to the officials, which for anyone who ever knows me, that's complete nonsense. I'm a very respectful character. And then I went in there in the fight. It was very hostile in there, which is fine. That's how it is. And it was a very close fight. I dropped Mark in the first round, and then it was quite close to a finish in the third. But he won, and he rightfully did. But the whole trip ended up being a nightmare just because of the allegations and the accusations from them saying that I was making a bit, and I was upsetting everyone, and that was being rude, and it just wasn't. I'm threatening to go home, and it just wasn't the case at all. It was a lie.
You outworked Warren Key. How did you do it?
Warren Key, that was in London. I finished that fight about a minute and a half, I think, and that was a nice fast finish. That was it was just I just went in there. I kind of knew from being around Warren briefly that mentally he probably wasn't there. Physically, he looked in good shape, but he struggled in the past. I've seen videos, interviews saying he struggled with confidence issues and things. So I went in there, got on him nice and fast, used really good pressure, and then just folded him in the first round, and that was all she wrote there. It was a nice fast finish.
Did you have a special game plan for the last fight? And do you have somebody locked in your sights for your maybe upcoming fight?
George Smith, yeah, there was a game plan. When we first got offered the fight, I said to my coach that I think George is probably the best guy in the middleweight division, probably better than the current champion at the time, Matthews Frederick, who you've interviewed. I watched his interview with yourself before. And my coach was quite unsure about taking it first, actually. But we said, we'd go away and we'd think of a good game plan. The game plan was to try and keep him away from me as much as possible and try and keep, the fight on the feet, because I knew I could strike better than him. He did take me. We knew he'd take me down. He did take me down once or twice. I think he took me down in the first one, which I reversed. He took me down and kept me down in the second. But I just had a feeling that if I kept the pressure, kept the distance, be sensible with distance management, I knew I'd catch him eventually. I think I caught him with a backhand and then followed up nicely. And then it was just a case of finishing the job with ground and pound. So again, that is easily the best win of my career by far. And again, it's always nice to get a finish. In terms of who I've gone and set my sights on, I would say, I don't know if you know James Webb, the Irish fighter, who, again, going back to Frederick beat James Webb for the middleweight title. I'd like to fight James Webb. He had a good win on I think it was the Friday. Yeah, no, maybe the Friday or the Saturday, I can't remember because it was already a trilogy. Possibly the Saturday. But I'd like to fight James. I think I'd match up quite well against him. And I think it'd almost be the same as the George Smith fight. I think it'd be a case of me trying to keep it standing and him trying to take it to the ground, because he's got a very good ground game.
Yeah, I've had an interview with Natajas, and Natajas is actually a very friendly person. He was my second interview, believe it or not. Yeah. He helped me to skyrocket the career and so on, and I am always thankful to him for that. I know he's a very friendly dude. He's
very strong. He looks very strong. I'm not quite sure how tall he is. I think he's probably around 6 foot, but he's very, very thick, very strong build.
6'1", I think.
Honestly, I think I'd match up well against Matthews. I think that would probably be more of a stand-up fight, but very strong. A little bit. I like Matthews in terms of he's a little bit older. He's kind of like 37 years old, and it's always nice to see older guys in the sport. It kind of gives everyone else hope that we can have a nice long career. But hopefully, 2 or 3 fights time, I'll be maybe fighting Matthews for that Cage Warriors title.
Yeah, that's definitely a fight I would like to see. What are your thoughts on Cage Warriors as a promotion?
I think they're very good. I don't think anyone can touch them really. Pretty much, I was going to say the UK, but maybe Europe. The way how professional they are, especially you know, you see the events maybe, but backstage you've got the COVID testing, and you've got the hotels, and you've got all the regulations and things. I think they're the first event that's been cleared by the governing body to go ahead. There's an awful lot of goings on behind the scenes, but in terms of the way they treat me and treat the fighters, I think it's really good. The money's quite good there as well, and they are the only guys pretty much certainly in the UK who can put on shows behind closed doors and have the money behind them to be able to do it.
Who was the toughest opponent of your professional career?
Toughest?
Yes?
Possibly maybe James Sheehan again. I think that was tough because I was 0-2 at the time, and there was a lot of pressure there. And again, he had that reputation of being a solid fighter. I'd made the mistake of watching some of his fights, and he had some really good finishes. He knocked out a kid with a big head kick, and yeah, I was quite. He was tough, very tough, and he cut me as well. I think in the second round, an elbow. So possibly the James Sheehan fight.
Outstanding. Would you like to add something? Is there something maybe we missed to say about your career? Would you like to greet sponsors or maybe mention someone?
I'll say thanks to all the team at Next Generation Liverpool for helping me out for the camp, and all the teammates who did loads of sparring rounds with me. I'd like to thank Paul Reed, the S&C coach, and my brother. I've got a twin brother called Daniel Bonner, who helped me out loads with fight camp and whatnot. And obviously my girlfriend, Leslie Haley, and other family and friends who have supported me throughout my career.
Thank you so much for the interview. I'll start creating video now. You can expect it uploaded in maybe 2, 3, 4 hours, depends on the program.
Brilliant.
Thank you so
Pleasure.
much.
Thanks very much, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, man. See you later, bye.
Bye.